I want to talk to you this morning about moving mountains. And if you've been in Unity for any length of time, you probably have been through Mountain Moving 101. Everybody taken that class? The class starts with, "Oh my gosh, what is going on?" Right? My husband and I started out in ministry in the Detroit area, and he worked at Detroit Unity Temple, and I worked at Unity in Port Huron, Michigan. And we were there for 6 years, and it wasn't my place on the planet. Has anybody here gotten a thing that says, "This is my place and that's not my place"? Strong intuition that Michigan in 102 degree humidity and menopause don't mix. Not my place on the planet. But we came back, and it's wonderful because our family's here, our kids are here, our grandkids are starting to move all over the globe, but they come back. And it's been wonderful from when we got here. And then we were here for a couple weeks, and it was like 5 days before my granddaughter was supposed to graduate from high school, and my friend called me and said, "Your daughter, Erin, and her husband, their house is burning down right now." So I jumped in the car, didn't know anything more than that, and got there, and indeed the house had burned down. And when you're 18 years old or just turned 18 years old and you're about to graduate in 5 days and you don't have a stitch of clothes to wear except what's on your back, it's a catastrophe. And when your makeup melts and you have no more eyeliner, it's a catastrophe. But we got through the catastrophes. We're getting through the catastrophes of the fire. And the thing that's wonderful about that is that my kids and grandkids, maybe not my 18-year-old the most, but they really are unattached to stuff. They have grown up in an intentional community. They grow all their own food. It's all organic. Everybody does farm chores. There's lots of parties there and picnics and campouts because they have 80 acres. And it's a wonderful, fun place. And in fact, we have a whole summer program that goes on because the intention of that community is to teach people about organic gardening, living closer to the earth, teaching children how to respect, and learn how to do things like pickling. Erin's got a class coming for kids on how to make pickles, so they'll have pickles. But it's about, just moving into doing things for yourself instead of thinking the only way to get anything is to go to the grocery. And it's interesting how when you lose everything, you're much better equipped when you've lived that way. Because you don't have to go to the store for everything. You can make it, you can create it, you can do something else that will be just as good. So for that experience, we learned a lot about letting go, and we learned a lot about how resilient we all are. And it was a wonderful thing. There wasn't much time where anybody was regretting the house burning down. It was amazing to watch them go, "Well, this is what's so. And we're having a cleansing." The house burning down was a ultimate cleansing, right? Really, really good. And then we have been helping them, and we did a GoFundMe page for them so they could buy some furniture and things, appliances and stuff, and it's all working out great. But just a couple weeks ago, about a month and a half ago, our dog was diagnosed with cancer. And yesterday she said maybe a week, maybe 2. So that's why my husband isn't here with me today. But it's hard to lose a pet that you've had for 14 years, especially one that's been as loving as that dog. Would do anything to have you pet them all day long. That's just what he loved to do. What are these things but mountains? Having a house burned down is a mountain. In metaphysics, we take Jesus' words like, with enough faith, with the faith of a mustard seed, you could move a mountain. But we know that what he's talking about is a mountain of worry, a mountain of problems, a mountain of I don't know what to do about this. This is beyond me. I can't fix it. It doesn't work. I don't know what to do with my life. This relationship doesn't work. This job doesn't work. This financial situation doesn't work. This doesn't work. That doesn't work. When we're in, it doesn't work. We're not aligned to the universe. The faster we can be in an experience that we wouldn't have chosen and understand that there is great growth coming from it. The faith that great growth comes from all of our challenges in life is faith. The growth that happens when you have a hard time, when you get divorced, when you lose a job, when you have a house burned down, whatever it is. If you hold on to the misery of it instead of letting go of that to the universe, knowing the universe will heal you emotionally, physically, mentally, in all ways, then the quicker you find the present. You find the gift in it. You find what is going to make your life a whole lot more fun. Faith is a muscle. It's like people going to the workout place. You know, you go to the workout place and you do repetitions. And you got to do them over and over and over. Repetitions. Faith is like, my house burnt down, but I know something good is coming from this. Something good is coming from this. Something wonderful is going to grow me through this. When we move to that mindset, the universe responds to us and says, yes, yes. And things happen, so it all works out great in the end or in the beginning. Could be a great new beginning. I'll tell you when my faith grew the most. About 10, 15 years ago, I took a training from that is called Sacred Healing Meditation. It was developed by Dr. Brew Joy and Dr. Richard Moss and Reverend Scott Sherman. Those three got together and developed this method of using chakra energy, using affirmative prayer, using unity principles, and putting them all together and doing this healing session. You know, in the old days, Charles and Myrtle did hands-on healing with people. And if you go to Unity Temple on the Plaza in Kansas City, which is the first big church they built, there upstairs, there's all these little tiny rooms where they were doing healing work. And that healing work was phenomenal. I mean, they would line up around the block to get healing sessions with them. If you ever read a book called Myrtle Fillmore, Mother of Unity, she talks about how a kid falls out of a tree and has a compound fracture and the bone is sticking through the skin, and she sits down and says, there's nothing wrong, it's okay. And she lays some hands on him and she knows that God's healing power is magnificent and can heal anything, and she knows it so well that she doesn't doubt at all. And in 10 minutes, the bone is back where it's supposed to be, healing. The skin has closed over. Now, how many of you believe that this stuff is possible? Okay, great, because I don't want to, I'm bringing along the cynics, but I have seen it myself. When I took this practice from Scott, Reverend Scott, we talked, and my son, when he was 3, got leukemia, and that was back in the 70s, and I knew he could be healed. I knew he could be healed. I was absolutely sure of it. Because in our family, if you had a problem or a desire, you got on the phone and called Silent Unity. And if you really wanted to go into detail, then you sat down and wrote a letter. But usually Mom would say, you don't need to go into detail. The universe knows what you need. Trust it. It knows what you need. So Jeremy gets diagnosed on a Friday. I stay with him all night, but I call my mom first because I know she's this powerful, powerful prayer. She's 92 years old, and she's still a powerful prayer. And she goes into prayer, and I go into prayer. And I lay one of my hands on top of Jeremy's head and one at the base of his spine, and I just start drawing anything that's like disease out of that baby and in purifying it through my heart and sending it back in through the top of his head as clean, clear, beautiful, golden light healing energy. And I did that for about an hour. About an hour after I started, all of a sudden, the room was like somebody came in and turned on the lights. And I thought the nurse came in, and nobody was there. And just then, the phone started ringing in the room. I picked it up, and it was my mom. And she said, I got the word from Spirit. He's going to be just fine. Don't worry. And I said, so did I. They retested him for leukemia on Monday. And he had no signs of the disease. And he has never had any signs of the disease. And he's, he's like 42 now. That was kind of the first one that hooked me. There's something to this faith thing. There's something to prayer. There's something to that. And so then I took that training I was telling you about, and I learned how to do a healing session on people. They go on a massage table, face up, you go through all the chakra areas. There's some soft, beautiful music playing, and there's a prayer at the beginning, a prayer at the end, and the rest is all in the silence. And it takes about 40 minutes, and I've done it on hundreds of people over the last 15 years, hundreds of people. And it's interesting because when we first started it, I was kind of skeptical. So I didn't let anybody tell me what their ailment was or what situation in their life they wanted to have changed. They would write it down on a little piece of paper. And none of the people that were working on people got to look at them, what they thought was their problem. I should have taken these out. I'm going to take my earrings out because they're bugging me. Sorry, guys. Shouldn't have worn them. Okay. So they didn't know what the person had come for as far as a healing, and yet we worked on them just the same way we work on everybody, just exactly going through the chakra system, going through. And what you do when you do this is really simple. It's almost like we really should put more steps in because people need steps to believe it, right? But there's not any steps. There's just going through the power centers of your body and flowing to that person from your heart to their heart, unconditional love. That's all it is. It's loving that person so much that you just feel this unconditional love for them. And every time you go to another part of their body, you feel even more unconditional love, and it just grows as you go through the process. And you go to all the points, there's 12 points, you go to all the points, and then you kind of go backwards and come back to where you started, and pretty much then it's done. And so what we would do is we'd work on, say, 10 people. They'd write down what they wanted to work on. We'd do the thing with people who had taken the training, and then we'd sit down and talk to all the people that received it, and they would talk about what happened in the session and how it was exactly what they came for in the first place. Now, some people don't know what they need, but they still have a healing of some kind. Sometimes it's something so unexpected. It's something they've been worried about for months, a fight, a relationship problem or something, and it pops up in that session, and they let it go and forgive it. That's a miracle. We're talking about magic. The difference between magic and miracles is that magic, you think you're doing something. One of the main points of sacred healing is you're not doing anything but loving. That is all, and we all know how to do it. Did anyone ever read that book? It's the old book now, but it was Mutant Messenger Down Under. This woman goes, Marla, I think her name was Marla something. Anyway, she goes around with this tribe, and she, at one point, she thinks it's really interesting, and she wanted to know how they worked, but at one point she says, what do you do when somebody gets sick? And they got a blank expression on their face and didn't understand what she was talking about. Well, what do you do when somebody has an accident? And they said, we don't have accidents. We don't get sick. And she said, how can that be? And he says, we know we're healthy. We know we're healthy, and we know that the all that is keeps us healthy. The all that is constantly flowing perfect health through us all the time. We know that. And she was really taken back, and she says, I just can't believe that. I mean, if somebody fell out of a tree and broke their arm, I mean, wouldn't that be something you'd need some healing to do? Take them to a doctor or something? And they said, no, nobody falls out of trees. We don't climb trees. So they said, okay, we'll have somebody volunteer to have an accident and get hurt, so we can show you how we would heal them if they ever needed it, but nobody ever needs it. And what happens in the book is this one kid says, okay, I will, and he got in a tree, jumped out of it, and broke his arm. And, again, the bone's sticking out. And they gather around this kid, and they say, this is what we do. We send the arm love. That's all we do. And they all stand around, and they put their hands gently on the arm, and they say, it is done in love. It is done with pure love. It is done with pure love. And again, the skin closes over, the bone goes back where it was, and it's together, and the kid is fine. When I was, one of the things I really enjoyed doing when I was president of Unity Worldwide Ministries was going to the Parliament of World Religions. And it was in Australia. And they had Australian healers because the government of Australia wanted the Aborigines out in the, that traveled around, the country on foot all the time, to have medical resources, Western medicine resources. And they built these really nice little clinics, where Aborigine tribes lived, and they had these clinics, and they hired the healers of the tribe to come in and work with patients. Well, the healers of the tribe said, well, yeah, but why, why don't you just fix them? And she said, no, we just want to see how you would do it, right? So they came in at the point of diagnosis. And they had a second sight, I guess is what you'd call it, but they said what we did is we look into the body. And when we look into the body, sometimes we see stones and sometimes we see sticks. And stones turned out to be cancerous tumors. Western medicine then put them through a CAT scan and found out those were tumors. And sticks were like arthritic joints that won't bend anymore and things like that. They did this for over a year, and the diagnoses from the Aboriginal healers were 100% correct. So the reason I tell you this is that these old guys, I mean, they were like this tall, and they had white hair, and all they did was laugh. They thought this was the most hilarious thing in the world for us to want to hear how they heal. And so they just laughed through the whole thing. They thought that was hilarious. And finally they said, the guy who was trying to moderate said, well, is there anything besides laughter you want to share with us? And they said, yes, we're the hardest working people on the earth. And he says, so really? He goes, yeah. He says, this Western medicine thing makes us come in and diagnose all day long, and then we stay up at night and we go to each person's hut that has a medical issue, and we go in and heal them, like astral projection or something. They didn't say that, but we send our spirit, and our spirit heals them in the night. So we heal everybody who has a problem every night. And once people start getting it, they don't have problems anymore. And what we're laughing about is you're like at the beginning of getting it. You're not getting it yet, this Western medicine. It doesn't get it. That it's love that heals, not drugs or x-rays or any of that stuff. It's love that heals. And I know a lot of people that have had cancer over 30 years of ministry. But I'll tell you what, the ones that survived it were the ones that knew, like Myrtle Fillmore did, that we don't need to confuse the facts with the truth. The truth is you can heal anything. You can change your finances, you can change your relationships, you can change your health, you can heal anything. But we just need to believe and have faith. Once I started doing the sacred healing, and it kind of got out that I did that. I was in White Rock, the minister in White Rock then, and when it started getting out, I started doing it with people who would come and ask for me to do a session with them, and I do it every time. And there was this one grandma who had had breast cancer, and she had gotten rid of it, but she was getting it back again. So I was working with her every week, and we were doing a session with her every week. And then she said to me, really, I feel fine, and I'm feeling fine about however this goes. I'm like totally aligned with what the universe wants, what is the highest and best that the universe wants me to do. And she said, but I have this grandson, and he's had this childhood rheumatoid arthritis since he was really a young baby. He's in 3rd grade now, and the disease is progressing. According to the doctors, the disease is getting worse, and tomorrow he has to go in, and they want to up all of his drugs. And she said, you know what, I just really don't think that is what they should do. I just really want to do something different. So could you come in the day before he goes back to the doctor and do a sacred healing on him? I did. And here's something that's really interesting is when you work on a child, they believe so easily. They have faith so easy. This 3rd grader, man, he was like way past me in prayer belief at that point. Anyway, we did the sacred healing. We loved him up, and he went to the doctor the next day, and his grandma called me and said, It's in complete remission, and they're taking him off all the drugs. You know, things like that happen all the time. They happen all the time. But we have to believe and be a partner with someone and believe with them. You know, Jesus said, 2 or more gathered in my name, there am I in the midst of them. So when you have someone on a table you're doing chakra work with, or you're doing any kind of massage work, or you're doing any kind of work, I mean, there must be some masseuses here and healers and other people, but whatever it is you do it with love. Do it with amazing love, because the mountains in your life are easily moved when you decide not to look at them anymore, not to believe in them anymore. So what I'd like to share with you for this week, I would like you to find yourself an affirmation. Mine is, I am aligned with the universe, and the perfect good is flowing in my life at all times. All is well. All is perfect. You know, if you start conditioning your mind to seeing the good, see the good, see the love, send the love, see the good, you do that, your whole life will change. And you will find partners that will pray with you and share with you, and it'll be awesome. So thank you this morning for listening to me so patiently. I love you. I bless you. And I just really adore that we can have this beautiful church, and it looks wonderful, and it's gorgeous, and you're all here. Thank you.